son of a fucking freaking hell now. What the hell? You gotta get down there in 2:30. It's only 18 miles. Days. And over there is nice. Everybody line up over there and start blowing. Move that freaking thing out of here. Only what I fucking need. Raise that partner, don't fucking raise that glass. Over there, it's kind of clear. That's what I was. Alright, I'll be back.
Ready to pounce at any moment. The conductor and the brakeman will come through to collect your tickets, so don't put them in your shoes.
As the train pulls out of the station, look around at the granite peaks and thick ponderosa forests that surround you. An army expedition led by George Custer turned up gold a few miles south of here in 1874. Within months, there were thousands of miners, mule skinners, madams, gunslingers, and gamblers swarming across the landscape, eager to get their hands on some of the shiny yellow metal. The community of Keystone, like many towns in the Black Hills, was originally founded to serve these ambitious prospectors. Gold mining camps dotted the sides of this gulch as early as 1875, although Keystone wasn't founded until the turn of the century. Today, Keystone is filled with hotels, restaurants, museums, and gift shops that entice visitors on their way to Mount Rushmore National Memorial, located just a few miles away. As we leave Keystone and enter the Black Hills National Forest, note the markers lining the tracks along our journey. The black and white markers are milepost signs. Details about the sites located at specific markings are listed in the All Aboard the 1880 Train guidebook, along with more information about the fascinating equipment and history of the 1880 train.
Look at that power, man.
sits on the site of the old Overguard sawmill, which harvested much of the surrounding timber during the 1920s to serve various mines. The whole community was called Pine Camp. The 1880 train is a movie star. In 1970, the 1880 train was used in an episode of the famous western Gunsmoke. The following year, the train was used in Walt Disney's Scandalous John. In the late 70s, the train was used in a made-for-TV movie entitled Orphan Train. The 1880 train has been featured in a music video and in a CMT special. It was also used in the filming of a Steven Spielberg TV miniseries entitled Into the West.
For the slides.
Keystone house is owned by the guy who owns the construction company up here. Now keep your eyes looking out to the west through the valley there. You're going to have, or to the left, you'll have a view of Black Elk Peak if it's clear. Way at the end of Palmer Gulch. have to
Addie
lean
Camp
over.
is located at the mouth of Palmer Gulch, which you are now leaving. A number of small placer mining operations existed here in 1875, and the ruins of some larger industrial mines dating to the 1930s are found on the northwest ridge, which is off to your right. Also on your right is a large weathered building. It was known as the Good Luck Tungsten Mine and flourished during both World Wars.
All like a dirt, man.
Now, if you look over to the right, you see Storm Hill. Storm Hill is where we had a forest fire just a few years ago. It was human started and it burned badly. So it is a grim reminder for us to be very, very careful with our fires.
Man. Dogs enjoy here. Look at that. Toward the way. Oh, we got a deer out here. We're going toward the place called Hill. I passed through that place about a couple of days ago when I went to see the Crazy Horse Memorial. You can do it, come on. Yeah, boondocks, man. Fresh air, except that guacamole once in a while going through.
Mining was eventually replaced by tourism and the timber industry, which employs many of the town's residents. Make sure you take time to walk the streets of this charming little Black Hills town. You'll also want to be sure to visit our Hill City Depot, where there are snacks, train memorabilia, and items to commemorate your ride on the 1880 train. If you are hungry, the Highliner Snack Shop offers meal options and snacks Memorial Day through Labor Day. If you're spending some time in Hill City, make sure to visit the South Dakota State Railroad Museum, located right next to the Hill City Depot. Adults receive $1 off your admission when you present your 1880 train ticket. Children 10 and under are free.
No, we can get the best this car and work. Get the steps, those back there. Yeah, that one. Then I'll run myself down over here.
While the train pulls into Hill City, please stay seated until we have come to a complete stop. As you step off the train, please watch your step and maintain your grip on the railing until your feet are firmly on the ground. Our stairs are extremely steep. Thank you for traveling the Black Hills Central Railroad. To switch the direction of your seat for the return trip, simply push the handle located at the top of the seat back. If Hill City is your final destination, we hope you've enjoyed your ride, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
To see that happening on the left-hand side of the train, that's called a boiler blowdown. When impurities build up in the boiler from the evaporation of the steam, they want to get rid of that, and so they use the steam pressure to blow it down, and then they open up the valve at the bottom of the boiler and we'll let that water out, and it's just water. It'll be just fine. It doesn't hurt anything. Kind of maybe even helps the grasses around here. The boiler blowdown.
Hi, people.
Thank you, those of you who are finishing up your round trip ride with the 1880 train. We hope you've enjoyed it. Now when you get off the train here at the depot, it's on the depot side where you will depart. Remember, these steps are very steep, they're doozies. So hang on to the rails. Now that last whistle, that tells the people at the station that we're coming in. So we'll have 15 minutes here at the depot. So you can go over to the snack shop. Don't forget the restrooms. Remember, there's no bathroom on the train.
Oh, bathroom. You just open the window up there.
So stay seated now until we come to a complete stop and you hear the magic whistle. There we go. Now that's the engineer telling us it's safe. Seats A and B are on the right-hand side.
Look at that.
C and D are on the rail side. So if you're finding your seat, if you move to the side so that we have a two-way highway.
Huh?
All right, guys. Here's
Daddy, you can sit right next to Mama right there. Yes, you can.
All aboard. When the conductor says all aboard, what that means is that everybody's on board. He's gone through and he's checked the station house, he's checked the restrooms, and everybody's on board that's supposed to be aboard.
Yeah.
I used to think that meant that everybody get on board, but that's not what it means.
Once again, welcome on board the 1880 train. As the train pulls out of station, look around at the granite peaks and thick ponderosa pine forests surrounding you. An army expedition led by George Custer turned up gold a few miles south of here in 1874. Within months, there were thousands of miners, mule skinners, madams, gunslingers, and gamblers swarming across the landscape, eager to get their hands on some of the shiny yellow metal. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride aboard the 1880 train. With us, you do not need to worry about anything. This is the best attraction to spend time with family and friends while enjoying the Black Hills, just like the early pioneers, miners, and settlers did when they discovered the West.
So as we leave Hill City and enter the Black Hills National Forest, you'll want to note the markers along lighting the tracks along our journey. The black and white markers are milepost signs. Details about the sites located at specific markings are listed in our All Aboard the 1880 Train guidebook. The 1880 train has gone north and it's now turned east up 10 Mill Hill, and that's what we're on right now. We're headed up 10 Mill Hill. That 200-foot incline that I was talking about takes about a mile of distance to get up to the top. It's named 10 Mill Hill because of a huge tin mining facility that was built there by the Harney Peak Mining Company. The grade of the track deviates from 4 to 6%, which makes this one of the steepest railroad grades in the United States. This puts considerable strain on the locomotive, and the fireman usually takes this opportunity to blow sand through the locomotive's boiler flues and to cleanse the soot from them. Now our locomotive, engine 110, is a 2662 T-articulated Mallet. The numbers that I read off, the 2 and then the 2 at the end, talk about the pony wheels that are on the front and the back of the engine. Those help the train to glide along the track and then go around the curves very easily. The 66 lets us know that this engine has 2 sets of 6 pulling wheels. Those wheels are indeed very strong and very capable of pulling us up 10 Mill Hill. This engine was designed actually for pulling. It was not designed for speed. So our engine travels about 10 miles an hour. And so you can calculate that if it takes us an hour, if Keystone is 10 miles away, it takes us about an hour to get to Keystone, traveling about 10 miles an hour. A little easier, like I said, because we're going to be mostly going down here to hear the train. We also have wild turkey, marmots, a type of groundhog, or whistle pig, depending upon where you're from here in the United States, and squirrels and chipmunks and all kinds of birds. So just watch out the windows. If you see something interesting, point it out to someone else. Here on to the left, and that is where the railroad would run a car back to collect the ore and load it onto the train. Right before the sign there, off to the left, cutting the hillside there, little hillside, and then the mining facility would have gone way back into the woods. Also in 1877, the hills were opened for homesteading, and so residences were obtained that way as well. Mining claims over time were either handed down through the generations of family, or they were sold and became private land. We're going to have our first view here of Black Elk Peak. It'll be off to the right. And we can still see the top of the peak. Black Elk Peak is the tallest peak here in the Black Hills. Indeed, the tallest peak east of the Rockies until you get to the Swiss Alps of Europe. The little pointy thing you see sitting on top of the peak is a decommissioned fire tower. Now it serves as a tourist tower. You can find one of the many spots to hike up to Harney Peak and look out from that tower up there. It's a beautiful climb. If you start at Sylvan Lake, which is one of the popular places, 3 to 3.5 miles up, and then of course 3.5 miles back down. On a beautifully clear day, you can see into the states of Wyoming, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, and of course surrounding South Dakota here. Written notes would represent a letter. Those letters then could be translated, grouped and translated into words, then of course to relay a message. Early form of texting.
With
The
wires.
lines were put in 1900 and were used up into the 1960s, and then of course decommissioned with the advance of new communication technologies. Now if you notice in here we have a lot of trees and they seem to be missing their tops, and that's because we have windstorms or ice storms sometimes in the winter, and those tops get snapped off. Sometimes they're left to lay, decompose and become nutrients in the soil, and sometimes they're picked up and they're put into fire brush pile. Off to the left you see a windmill. That's fairly new structure, and there's no pipe going down the middle, so it's not pumping water. And then off to the right we have a beautiful view of Black Elk Peak again.
The view to your right is dominated by Black Elk Peak, formerly named Harney Peak, the large mountain with the stone fire lookout on top. At 7,244 feet, Black Elk Peak is the highest point in the Black Hills and the tallest mountain in the U.S. east of the Rockies. Although the Black Hills are only 130 miles away from the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, they are completely separate formations. The 2-billion-year-old rocks you see around you are much older than the 20-million-year-old slopes of the Rocky Mountains.
So here we are in Palmer Gulch. The gulch extends down to the south towards Black Elk Peak and up to the north towards Highway 16 that goes down into Rapid City. Now you notice I said we were going to be going downhill to Keystone, but we've got one little uphill bump in the road, and this is it. We're actually going to be climbing a little bit, going to Oblivion. Oblivion is kind of interesting. In 1957, when Bill Heckman started the 1880 train.
Here's Jamie.
Now, if you've been in the hills long, you notice that we have a lot of rocks. And off to the left of here is a great example of a beautiful rock wall.
Hello, brother.
It's called the Indian Cliffs. And it's made up of a very special granite that is specific here to the Black Hills. That granite is called Harney, Harney, Harney granite. The granite was created during the formation of the Black Hills. Lots of minerals in the granite, lots of different kinds of rock.
Oh yeah.
You might find quartz, feldspar,
What about gold?
tourmaline, mica, schist, schist, and the granite. It's the same kind of rock that Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse are carved out of. It's the same kind of rock you'd be climbing as you went to the top of Black Elk Peak. And speaking of rocks and climbing, they're great rocks for doing some rock climbing on. Sometimes, depending on where you're at, you'll see people up on the rocks.
We'll be driving back to the beach.
Call me again.
Right next to that rock. Big old rock.
Oh, there it is.
What were those three cars leading to?
You guys are from Iowa?
That's just a rental from Iowa. We don't own that thing. We rented it.
Oh, okay.
Minnesota.
That rock structure is closer to Keystone, the direction that we're headed.
Okay, open your mouth.
If you look out to the left, you're going to
Throw
see
us
the
in
train
again.
engine go over that trestle right there. That is a bridge that a train goes over. We call it a trestle. We go over lots of trestles as we journey from Hill City to Keystone. If you look up to the left again on top of the mountaintop, you'll see that wooden cross up there, and that tells us that we're very close to Camp Judson, which will be off to the right here. They have a slip and slide.
The Baptist Church's Camp Judson, off to your right, sits on the site of the old Overguard sawmill, which harvested much of the surrounding timber during the 1920s to serve various mines. The whole area was called Pine Camp.
So before this was the Baptist Church camp, originally it was the Overguard sawmill. It harvested wood for the miners they could use to build their cabins. People at the glass blowing shop always come out and wave at us. That's kind of a cool place to stop. They actually do the glass blowing there, and they have some beautiful pieces. Give them a wave.
Do not exit to your left or cross a chain that has been put up by a train staff member. If you are staying on the train, please remain out of the aisle. Restrooms are available inside the depot, and public restrooms are located across the street. Thank you for traveling the Black Hills Central Railroad. If you are returning to Hill City, keep in mind we will be departing again in about 15 minutes. To switch the direction of your seat for the return trip, simply push the handle located at the top of the seat back. If Keystone is your final destination, we hope you've enjoyed your ride, and we look forward to seeing you again.
And again, if Keystone is your final destination, we want to thank you for choosing to ride with us today. Before you depart, please make sure you look around, that you have all your possessions and all the people you come with. We don't want you to lose anyone or anything. Wait for that whistle before you get up. We'll put the ramps down and make sure you go straight out onto the platform using only an area where there is a ramp.
Big Iron Mountain Road. And it'll take you all the way back down into the park. So it's a beautiful, twisting, turning road.
Stand in front of us.
Okay.
Very good, man. Okay, go. You can walk in.
On the train, so we'll probably be out of the way.
Trying to get the angle right.